What up, what up, what up? How you guys doing? Welcome to my channel. This is NJ here, and this is where I talk about issues of inspiration and motivation and personal leadership and accountability. And my favorite tagline is that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That means you're going after what you've always wanted to go after because it's aligned with your highest values, and that's the only way for you to live a truly fulfilled and inspired life. And today I want to talk about a story that I heard from a great speaker, Brian Tracy, where the question is asked, what is your Aunt Martha? What is your Aunt Martha? So Brian Tracy was at a seminar giving a keynote presentation, and then some of the top achievers that were there, two of the top achievers that were there, they are a married couple, a husband and a wife. You got to sit with them and speak with them, and they wanted to get their story, and they related what their story was, because here's a couple that is an outstanding example of what you can do to build a strong business starting from nowhere and to become multimillionaires. And they're warm, they're accommodating, they work well together, they are educational, and they are motivational in nature. And they told the story. So in their 20s and throughout their 30s, they were not well off to do. They did not come from a very prominent family history and a prominent family background. They lived in a small one-bedroom apartment, and then their dinners consisted of spaghetti and tomato sauce, and a big night out for them would happen once every month at a very meager restaurant. But it was nothing major, something that happened once every month. But they didn't take any vacations. They did not live above their means. They did not have a lot. They were just barely getting by. But they didn't have to worry about anything because their Aunt Martha was really wealthy. So they had a rich Aunt Martha who would invite them over to their house, and rather they would invite them over to the house, and they'd take her out to dinner and speak with her. And she confided in them and said that when she died, she was going to leave all of her wealth and all of her experience and all of her money to them, so they didn't have to worry about anything, because the moment that Aunt Martha dies, they inherit all of this wealth. So they didn't feel the need to go out there, start a business, take a risk, and improve their lifestyle. So they carried on working throughout their 20s and throughout their into their early 30s now. And Aunt Martha was not getting any, was not dying. Aunt Martha was looking healthier and healthier by the day, and they still carried on, hoping that by the time Aunt Martha dies, then that's when they're going to get all their wealth. And then they were sitting at the dinner table, and he looked at her and she looked at him, and then she said, what if Aunt Martha lives on for another 10, 20, 30 years? What are we going to do? We're in this one-bedroom apartment. We are having this very uninspiring meal. Are we going to carry on living one step away from poverty because we're waiting for Aunt Martha to die? And that's what the woman said, because women are sometimes smarter than men in this specific instance. And so they decided to act as if Aunt Martha was going to live for forever. So that's when they started to look out for opportunities, and then the husband went out and found a janitorial service, and he bought that janitorial service, and then he started the janitorial service being a cleaning service. He started getting a cleaning service. He bought up the franchise, he started another franchise, another chain, and then his wife joined him in that chain, and they became multi-millionaires. And that's where they got to where they were right now, because they realized that if they want to wait for Aunt Martha to die, they will be one step away from poverty for the rest of their lives. And so the rest of the story is that Aunt Martha lived for another 20 years. And when she passed away, this is where you had the reading of the will, and all of their relatives were in the reading of the will, and every one of them was convinced that they were going to inherit the wealth of Aunt Martha, because she had confided in every single one of them that they were going to be the sole heir. And it turns out that Aunt Martha was penniless. She didn't have a single thing to her name. And she had confided in every single one of them to said that you are going to inherit my wealth. You are going to inherit my wealth. You are going to inherit my wealth. And she was living off of the good graces of all of her relatives because they thought that they were going to inherit Aunt Martha's wealth. And what I get from the story is, what is your Aunt Martha? That's a question I'm asking myself, a question I'm asking you. What is your Aunt Martha? What is that thing that you are waiting for before you go after what it is that you want? Are you going to wait for your father to die, your mother to die, or a rich relative of yours to die so that you can inherit their wealth? That's not a great way to live. Because one thing that I do know is that there are no rich men's sons in the major leagues. What that means is that no person who inherited wealth or inherited something without having had worked for it and being taught how to work for it ever makes it last. Because for you to get to the top 1% of anything, it takes a lot of heartache, it takes a lot of pain, it takes a lot of dedication, and you need the emotional grit to get there. And that is why there are no rich men's sons in the major leagues. Personally, I'm really happy that my last name is not Jobs or Gates or Obama or Rothschilds or Rockefeller or Motsepe. Why? Because I can build something for myself and no one will ever question where that came from, because there are no rich men's sons in the major leagues. And also, I'm not going to wait for someone to leave me wealth, or I'm not going to wait for a company to fire someone, or I'm not going to wait for a business person or CEO to just hand over the reins to me. What is your Aunt Martha? What is it that you're waiting for to happen before you go after, or you go and you get married, or you start that business, or you go after the job, or you apply for the job, or you start that initiative within your company? What are you waiting for? What is stopping you from just going after it? Take a lesson from this married couple. They acted as if Aunt Martha was not going to die. And then that gave them the courage, it gave them the impetus, and it gave them the fervor to go after a life that now they are proud of. And as a result of them not waiting for Aunt Martha's wealth, they were able to build a multi-million-dollar fortune. So my question is to you, what is your Aunt Martha? And my challenge to myself and to you is, don't wait for Aunt Martha to die. Don't wait for that circumstance to change or to go into your favor. Don't wait for the moment to be perfect. Take the moment and make it perfect. Don't wait for Aunt Martha.